Welcome to IMPAK Class number 1. We are excited that you have selected IMPAK as your primary facility management system. We know that once you get started, you'll understand why so many property management organizations enjoy the effectiveness of using IMPAK on a daily basis. Your IMPAK application and database is now ready and waiting for you to get started. If you're a property manager just coming in, everything will already be set up. After you finish the first 3 IMPAK classes, you will already be using IMPAK with a confident and strong understanding of the system. Each IMPAK class is designed so it can be completed in less than 1 hour. From IMPAK's main menu, always accessible via the Home button in the toolbar, you can select from a list of main categories on the left sidebar. Click on any main category link to view the activities corresponding to that main category section. For IMPAK Class number 1, we are focused on tenant management and setup and master list categories on the sidebar. From IMPAK's main categories, click the Tenant Management and then find Tenant Companies. Click the Create New Tenant Company after you've selected the property in the top left-hand corner. Then you could type in a tenant company name, a suite number, and a tenant contact number. Now, the only piece of information that is required is the tenant company name, but we recommend at least adding a tenant suite, a phone number, and at least one contact, so that way in case you need to get a hold of anyone for any reason or emergency, you will be able to do so, with a quick reference to IMPAK's notebook, which we'll get into in a little bit later. You will also always be able to come back and edit the company at any time. Once you click Save, you'll notice that you could scroll down and find the specific company which we just created. Here I can edit it in any way if necessary. Now what we're going to do is go to the Setup and Master List. We have 2 ways of getting there. The first is to use the Jump To program, which corresponds with each category and their corresponding activity links. If we scroll towards the bottom, we'll see the Setup and Master List area. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to press the Home button, find Setup and Master List located on the left-hand sidebar. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to find each of the corresponding items. We're going to touch on Service Locations, Master List, Job Types, Master List, Technicians, Master List, and Vendors, Master List. Once an item is entered into any master list, it can then be used by as many properties as necessary. For example, you will only enter parking lot once into the service locations master list. You will then be able to use parking lot as a service location and assign it to as many properties that need it. Don't worry if you miss an item while you're setting up your master list for the first time. You can always come back later to adjust any master list as needed. From the Setup and Master List main category, find and click on the Service Locations Master List. Service locations are the internal locations within each property. They help identify the physical area where work is to be performed, but do not add tenant suite numbers to this list. Tenant suite numbers will be held with the tenant information under the Tenant Companies. IMPAK comes with a default list of service locations in the Service Locations Master List, but you can add some new locations or remove existing locations as needed. You can also create locations that are hidden from tenants when they are submitting work requests online. For example, you may hide the category of roof from tenants. Let's go ahead and locate it here. Alright, we see Display for all users. What we could do now is click on Roof to edit it, and click Hide from Tenant Users, which will still give you the option to be able to select this as a service location, but not the tenants. Try to avoid adding too many service locations. Consider the tenant who will be selecting from your list of service locations when posting a new tenant service request online. To help them save time, tenants should be able to easily find and select a service location from a short list. For example, don't break down locations by floor. such as restroom min first floor, restroom min second floor, restroom min third floor, and etc. Instead, just use one location for the whole concept, restroom min. This will make it easier for tenants to select the location while providing you with enough information to perform the work. Because also in the work order, the tenant company name and the tenant suite will be transferred over. To create a new service location, such as we did with the tenant company, click Create New Service Location in the top left. Simply type in the name, select the display option, and hit Save. Remember, it's a two-step process when creating items in IMPAK. First, you need to create the item, and then you need to assign it for use. So let's go ahead and locate the restroom which we just created. Restroom mins. Now I can click on Properties and assign it to as many properties as necessary. To assign it, you'll have a master list located on the left-hand side, which is all the properties that you've been assigned, and you have permission to assign property assignments to. The ones for the current selection will be located on the right. As we can tell, we have no property selected as right now, so I will select a couple options. I'm going to hold down Control and sporadically select a couple and hit Add Selected. Once you see them on the right hand side, this service location is now usable at those three locations. Going back to the service locations master list, I can go through and again edit any of these locations as necessary just by clicking on the name. Using the Jump To program, we're going to scroll through and we're going to go to the next area, which is going to be right below the service locations master list, called the Job Types master list. IMPAK job types identify the type of work to be performed. Classic examples are lighting, electrical, pest control, and plumbing, but there can be many others. IMPAK comes with a default list of job types also, but again, you can remove and add job types from the master list as necessary. If you're a property manager coming into a property, this step will most necessarily not be needed. You can hide certain job types from tenants again and designate a priority that will be used by default as new work orders are created for the due date. To create a new job type, again, we can create a new job type by clicking Create New Job Type in the top left. The job type description would be Painting Suite. Our company standard, so the standard due date once a tenant actually submits the work order or once someone selects company standard as the option, this will be the default setting. We'll say 10 days for this one. And again, we could do display for all users, or we could do hide from tenants. I will select hide from tenants with this option. Again, once I create the actual job type, I will need to assign specific properties that will have that option selectable. Painting Suite. Properties, again, your master selection will be on the list, and the current properties assigned will be located on the right. If I hold down Shift, I can select the top one and select another option, and it will automatically select all the options in between. Going back to the job types master list, again, I can edit any of these as necessary by simply clicking on the name. Going to the next area, we're going to touch base on the technicians master list. Again, using the Jump To program, we're going to select Technicians Master List. By definition, an IMPAK technician is any person who will perform work orders at designated properties. Property managers are often included in the Technician Master List because they want to perform certain types of jobs. For example, issue access cards or provide key duplicates. Include anyone on your staff who will need to be assigned and perform work orders. To create a new technician, click Create Technician up in the top left. Type in the technician's name. The phone number here is only for reference. It is not used anywhere else in the system. Type in the email address. And the next step is you do not actually have to add in a tenant's username and password. For now, leave the password and username fields blank. Technicians can be issued login credentials here, but recent improvements to the IMPAK mobile tech makes it unnecessary for technicians to ever actually log in. They can perform all needed work-related activities directly on their mobile device. Again, once we create this technician, we need to make sure that we assign him to a specific property. Again, I'll hold down Control and select a couple sporadic options. And now what we're going to do is go over to the Contractors/Vendors master list. Because not only sometimes will you have the ability and need to assign technicians, but you also need to assign contractors. Using the Jump To program, I'm going to locate the Vendors master list located right below the Technicians master list. Your third-party contractors may perform work at more than one of your properties, and you can track their performance by simply assigning them to work orders. You won't need to enter in all your contractors/vendors in IMPAK as a part of this IMPAK Class number 1. Once you begin using IMPAK to track your daily work orders, you will be able to easily add specific contractors to this list as needed. To create a new contractor, again, click the Create New Contractor/Vendor in the top left. All you need to do with this one is type in a vendor name, pest control. Alright, now this is the only part that's necessary, but we at least recommend to add in a CC email. For you to be able to email a contractor about a work order, you will need to enter in an email under the CC email field. Now the next option, Contractor/Vendor, is an important one. If you were to select Vendor Only, this vendor would not be selectable under a work order and will not be able to be assigned. You will need to either do a Contractor Only or a Contractor/Vendor to be able to assign them work orders. A service type is also recommended. Once we've completed the setup, I'll locate the specific contractor and make sure that they're assigned the appropriate properties. The next area that we're going to touch base on is an area where you can easily assign job types, service locations, technicians, and contractors once a property is first brought online into the system to make it easier. As you can imagine, if you were to go through each one of the job types, service locations, and technicians and click on the properties one by one, that would take a lot of time and be very redundant. So what you could do is, if we press the Home button, we're going to go to Setup a Master List, and then we're going to click the Property Setup option. As you notice, with each property, they'll have a set of links such as locations, which is for the service locations, the job types, technicians, contractors. Corresponding to each property in the property setup is a series of links that match your master list. So let's first click on Locations. We can see that we have the locations that are currently assigned on the right-hand side, and again the master list on the left. You can use the same techniques as we showed you earlier to add and remove different service locations to this property. Once you go through this, you can go through each option and adjust each of the job types, service locations, technicians, and contractors easily and quickly. Well, that concludes the IMPAK Class number 1. Thank you so much for choosing IMPAK, and we look forward to working with you soon. If you would like, you may continue on to Class number 2.